Hari Om. Bhajagovindam chanting verses 1 to 5.
bhajagovindam bhajagovindam govindam bhajamudhamate samprapte sannihite kale nahi nahi rakshati dukran karane मूढजहि धनागमतृष्णां गुरु सद्बुद्धिं मनसि वितृष्णा यल्लभसे निजकर्मोपातं वित्तं तेन विनोदय चित्तम् नारीस्तनभरनाभिदेशं दृष्ट्वा मागामोहावेशम् एतन्मांसवसादिविकारं मनसि विचिन्तय वारं वारम् नलिनीदलगतजलमतितरलं तद्वज्जीवितमतिशयचपलम् विद्धि व्याध्यभिमानग्रस्तं लोकं शोकहतं च समस्तम् यावद्वित्तोपार्जनसक्तः तावन्निज परिवारो रक्तः पश्चाज्जीवति जर्जरदेहे वार्तां कोऽपि न पृच्छति गेहे
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करमावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। Manasi vichintaya varam varam is what he gives as an advice. Vichintayam means Visheshena chintayatvat is what they say. So you have to think again and again. Reflect on this again and again. One day reflection is not sufficient. Few days of reflection is not sufficient. Few weeks, not enough. Few months, not enough. Few years, something will happen. Few janmas, there is a possibility. But the rule will not change. What do you have to do, sir? Again and again, do it. It's like exercising. You have to exercise again and again. You can't have a relaxation on that. Again and again you exercise. You see, there is manasi vichintaya varam varam. What you have to think again and again. Pratipaksha bhavana. Look into all areas of your involvement, your attachments, your engagements, your perceptions, your actions, your thoughts, your beliefs. Look at it from a different angle. The same thing, see from another angle. That re-evaluation, the capacity to re-evaluate is called Pratipaksha bhavana. Look at it from a different angle. And here he takes this example of a woman. I told you it is nothing to do with the gender. It is to do with the enjoyment possibility maximum. That's it. There's no, there's nothing to do with the gender and all these things here. So the whole concept here is, when you are discussing with reference to desires, what you need to understand is there are two types of desires. The scriptures classify them into two categories. Agantuka kama and swabhavika kama. You can call it as primary or secondary, natural or acquired. You can classify any way you want. There are two types. That's all you need to understand. There are two types of desires we entertain. Kama was classified under two sections. The swabhavika means natural, primary, universal. Everybody has that. Acquired is depending upon the situation. Say, for example, our grandfather never had a desire for iPhone, mobile phones. He never had that desire. Why he never had that desire for mobile phone? Not because he is more evolved than you and me. Mobile phones were not available, that's all. If mobile phones were to be available about 100 years back, they also would have had that desire for mobile phone. So, desire for mobile phone is what, sir? Is called as acquired, conditional, situational desires. It's not universal. Whereas the attraction with reference to the opposite sex is not a acquired one. It is natural one. It is there. Now you can't do anything about it. Does it mean that we cannot do anything on that, sir? No, that is not what Shankara gives here. That doesn't mean it can be allowed. You say, yeah, since you call it as natural, then allow it to be there. No, what is your problem? Then I will say, it is natural for the nail to grow. Why do you clip it? It is natural for the hair to grow. Why do you cut? Allow it to grow, no. And there we say what? No. Just because it is natural doesn't mean it has to be allowed. Allowance is not there. Remember this. So that's why I said the framework. In Bhajagovindam, the framework we need to understand. The framework is, it is addressed to a person who says, I can understand my involvement in the world, and I also understand that I have to get out of the samsara, but my problem is I don't know how to get out. My viveka shakti, my intellectual, that discriminative capacity is not so strong enough to pull me out. I'm still getting involved there. Please tell me why. Tell me what I should do. How should I go about? Is what the idea here is. Right. So, don't equate it to a common person, please. If you don't understand the context, then you will lose the whole thing. So in the context, we say what? First thing what we need to understand is, there is why this discrimination, why I'm explaining these two aspects is, the presence of this need not trigger a guilt in an individual. You see, oh, I'm getting attracted. Oh, that means what? I am very bad. That's why we say no, it is nothing of that sort. And this attraction, you cannot be classifying that, saying it is just the thing is being injected in human, also only for procreation, only for survival of the species. This is not the case, please. Because no dog looks at another dog with wow, isn't it? I have never seen. No lion looks at another, lioness with wow. No, they don't. Cockroach don't look at another cockroach with awe. It's not there. But whereas for a man it is there. Now if we have to just that urge has to come, you procreate, is what all other creatures do. Other animals also do. But there is no sense of awe in them when they look at the other. You see. Therefore, you can't say that dimension of it is natural. You see, up to this portion, it is natural. What is it, sir? That urge to create. That is natural. But in that, what is happening, sir, is where we have to distinguish. It's a very, very, very fine line. This is very difficult to decipher. It is like, they ask, what is a man of wisdom? How does he live his life? See, man of wisdom doesn't have likes and dislikes. But he definitely has preferences. A preference is different from likes and dislikes. I'm not going to explain this, okay? Don't ask me to explain it. I'm only stating there are fine dimensions of life. Very difficult to decide because it will overlap. At least in our eyes, it will overlap. But strictly speaking, there is no overlapping. There is a totally no connection between preference and likes and dislikes. A man of wisdom definitely has preferences. Tyagaraja sang on Rama. It's a preference. That doesn't mean Tyagaraja liked Rama. Why, sir? Because if he likes Rama, then he should not like Shiva. We can't understand that. Preference and like itself is difficult for us to distinguish. Same way here. These two things, what we have to understand here is that urge presence is not in your hands. That is what you have to understand. Then who puts it there? Krishna says, I had put the seed in you, he says. It's a fascinating philosophy, in the Gita. That's what I keep referring. Bhajagovindam you study at one level. Bhagavad Gita you have to study at another level. You have to read the whole thing from a different level, that is. And when you go to Upanishad, that is totally different. We should be able to feel the difference. Bhajagovindam, he says, look here, there are two dimensions playing together here. In this, one aspect of it is natural, another aspect is add-on. By your constant reflection, what you are supposed to do, sir? What is that has been added on by you? Think about it again and again. Now, working on that capacity, working on that is what is called as Brahmacharya Vratam. You take this Brahmacharya. Now, at the age of 70, don't ask me, sir, how can I practice Brahmacharya now and all that? Now it's no point. You see, you can know what is it. That's all. Okay, Brahmacharya means what? How are you? That it is a vrata you take. Then you have that state of Brahmacharya you achieve. You see, you attain to Brahmacharya. That is a different level. As a vratam you take, like you take this resolve, you resolve to How you got to live, they have disciplines for that. How you got to have your lifestyle. Your lifestyle should fit into those aspects. If it is not fitting into those aspects, what will happen, sir? Slowly you will be pulled in that direction. Unnecessary disturbances there. So a particular lifestyle I live, that is called brahmacharya vrata you take. So there are two types of things. What you need to do is two things. One, you got to distinguish, constantly think again and again from different angles and recognize what is natural, what is acquired. And for natural aspect, there is no necessity for you to feel guilty. A lot of people say, bhajagovindam is such a negative text. Very, very pessimistic. It is not pessimism, please. A lot of them say that. There is a lot of complaint we get. He speaks so, cynical way of looking life. For all of us, our life is so beautiful, no? You say, correct. Now, but who is capable of seeing the beauty of life? That is the question. Life is beautiful, no doubt about it. But the problem is, do you have the eyes to see the beauty there? When you can't see that beauty, where you are right now, you cannot see beauty. There is only this for you. What is it, sir? It's so unsteady. So therefore what? This is where, very, very interesting thing comes here. He is saying that life is so unsteady. Therefore, he says one, we say another. Therefore, Shankara says, don't waste your time, jump out. Therefore, what we are doing, sir, grab as much as possible. Shankara says, life is so unsteady, man. Anytime you can tick off. Like water on the lotus leaf. It will just, a small breeze is enough. It will go away. It will go back to the pond. It will go and merge with the pond. So there is no, that water drop anymore, existing. Like that your life is, he says. So therefore, don't waste your time, he says. Now we say what? Correct. Shankara, I agree with you. What? Life is so unsteady. It is so unstable. Anytime I can go. Therefore, what should I do? Grab as much as possible. Enjoy as much as possible. This is what we do. It's so unsteady, man, life is. A beautiful concept this is. Like this hunter story, they give the Shastras. They give a story of a hunter. He goes for hunting. By mistake, he falls. And he is holding on to a branch of a tree, overlooking the valley. If he, hanging there. And the branch is slowly being eaten by a rat. And when the fellow looks down, there is a crocodile. And he says, my God, it is a real problem. So let me climb the branch and get over to that side. If he wants to climb the branch, there is a snake. Thinks, okay, let me swing and jump over to the land. There is a tiger waiting to eat this fellow. So there is a that is eating the branch. That fellow is going. Anytime it will break until the fellow will fall. And if he falls, there is a crocodile waiting to eat him. Swallow this fellow. And the other side, there is a snake. This side, there is a tiger. In that, movement, what had happened was there is a beehive, and from that beehive there are a few drops of honey dripping, and this guy is stretching his tongue out to eat, to taste that. It's a fascinating scene. See, there are few scenes in the Shastra, amazing scenes. Like they say, there's a frog. In another Upanishad, they explain this. There's a frog that is stretching his tongue to catch the fly. Okay, he's stretching the tongue. Actually, there's a picture being taken by this, National Geography, and the frog was actually half eaten by a snake. So half the portion of the frog was inside the mouth of the snake. Right? His face is outside. So he sees the bee flying, he is stretching it to eat the fly, catch the fly. And what is interesting is, behind that snake, there is another snake which is waiting to eat that snake. Then there is a man standing behind that snake to catch that snake. It goes, beautiful scene, And everyone is focusing only where, sir? All their focus is what? What is in front of them. Nobody is seeing what is behind them. Everyone sees what is in front. Beautiful scenes. Like that. Your life is so unsteady. Anytime the problem for all of us is what? Everyone believes I will live. See, that's a belief of all of us. Everyone believes that, they have at least a couple of years. Or I say what? I genuinely believe I have another 30 years to live. Tomorrow morning, will you be there or not? Who knows? Like they say, one man came and met me. He was so upset. I came with my wife, sir. We went to party. We came back. She went to sleep. We had a small fight, as usual. She went to sleep. Next day morning, she didn't wake up. I don't know why she died, what happened, nothing. And doctors were not able to explain, nobody could explain. And he started going to many places. Poor man. I asked him only one question. He said, how do you know? I said, this one question you should not ask me. How do you know? He said, don't ask me the question. Yes or no? Yes. That explains, I said. The moment I asked the question, he understood. That explains. And he is going to all sorts of people, explaining why, what is this? And how old is? It's only 30. Girl is just 30. Hale and healthy. Nothing wrong with her. Then what, sir? That's it. He went, came back, slept. Next day morning, gone. He doesn't even know when it happened. The same bed. They are sleeping in the same bed. It's not that he is sleeping in one room, he is in another room. No. Same bed. He was cursing himself, poor fellow. It's really a sad state. But genuinely, we all believe what? I have enough time. I have lots of time. Yes. This transiency. Life is so fleeting, transient. But what is interesting is the sheer transiency of the world is the cause of its attraction. You are not getting attracted to Brahman. Why? Because it is permanent. It is always there. So we say what? Anyway, he is always there. I can meet him anytime. This is the fellow who is not going to be there. And he will run away anytime. So let me grab him before he leaves. This transiency, is what the attraction is all about. And the transiency of this means it just goes off, in the sense it changes. That's all it means. When we say it is transient, all that we are saying is it will change. Right? When it changes, the problem is what? You go to it, you get that joy out of it. It changes means what? The joy ends. Between joyful experience and a miserable experience, which is fleeting, which is permanent. Okay, which is more permanent? Which experience stays with you for a longer period of time? Joyful experience or sorrowful experience? Think carefully. When he says Jalamati Talalam, don't take it as only, you will die. Don't take it only that aspect, please. It has many aspects. All the aspects of life is what, sir? Fleeting. Means it will end. But the problem is what, sir? The problem is the joyful experience will end quickly. Whereas the sorrowful experience will look elongated, stretched out. It extends. This misery looks, that is why the misery looks more real than the joy of life. You ask me, Ishwara, how do you know which is the truth? You ask a person to describe most joyful moment of his life. I got my first salary. Such a joy, get that salary. The first check when I received. Wow. Correct. He just says that as a matter of fact. Whereas, you see people come and talk to us, about their problems. As they are talking about the painful experience which they had about 20 years back, 30 years back. Today he is only narrating that experience, that instance. As he is narrating, they break down and start crying. Think carefully. Which looks more real to you? Joy looks more real to you or sorrow looks more real to you? Your joyful experiences are all looking like what to us? Yeah, of course, it's marriage, wedding anniversary. You ask a person, this is I'm getting, I think, 20th next week. 20 years of marriage. Okay, now what? What an excitement, what a joy when you said that. What, 20 years back? Today, what is it? Oh, is it? Somebody has to remind you many times. Otherwise, you don't even remember actually. Which looks more real to you? See, the beauty looks more fleeting, whereas the ugliness is more permanent. Isn't it? Whether joy, sorrow you take, same way, beauty and ugliness you take, which looks more real. So see, the flower is so beautiful. When? In the morning. Evening, how does it look? Huh? Morning, it looks so beautiful, no? The rose flower you take. You bring a rose flower and give it to a person. Morning, you see that. So beautiful it is. By evening, what had happened to the beauty? All the positive things of life appears to all of us fleeting. That's what Shankara says. Since it is fleeting, it is ending. We are losing it. Losing that joy is called sorrow. What is sorrow? Sorrow is what? Pain is what? Ugliness is what? Losing the beauty. That's all. That is why we have this, what you call, anti-aging cream. Now, why do you have to put anti-aging cream? Then why you have to have it? No, you can't take. Why? It looks, the beauty looks, I lose beauty faster, whereas ugliness looks to be there with me forever. It never leaves. Flat stomach is such a beauty. Losing that weight is what? Huh? Putting on, that's not a big problem. Losing that is what diet to do, this diet to do, that diet to do, this exercise, that exercise, and then the fellow says, you don't have to diet, you don't have to exercise, all that you have to do is what? Buy the belt I am selling, buy that and put it on, and keep watching TV. Automatically you will get that flat stomach. And people buy that. That's the best part. Still it is not losing. Everything is going, sir, except that, around the waist only it is not reducing. All other places reduces. Only there it's not losing, sir. That ugliness looks what? More real to us. Shankara says, think carefully, man. This is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. Say that, no, life is so, it's fleeting, man. This is where two attitudes have come into picture. One fellow says, life is so miserable. No, yeah, life is so misery. That's what he says. Understand that the entire world consumed by disease and conceit, smitten with sorrow. Whole life is full of sorrow. Therefore, what? One fellow wants, what? He says, I want to be free from misery. I don't want misery. I want only pleasure. So what he does, sir? He just tries to grab pleasure as much as possible, as strong as possible. He is called a materialist. Materialistic person. Worldly, unwise. A wise person, what he says is, he understands what? Life means this. Understands what? Misery follows pleasure. Why? Pleasure will come to an end. No matter what, any pleasure that you have will come to an end. This ending of that pleasure is a pain, is the beginning of misery. Therefore what? Life will be full of misery. So he says what? I am willing to accept that fact of what? Pleasures will come to end. The king of Persia. Pleasure comes, but not to stay, even this shall pass away. Pleasure comes, but not to stay. Pleasure is not going to stay forever. It will. Why? It's like water on a lotus leaf, trembling. It is constantly wavering, oscillating, disturbed. It's not stable. Same way, our life is also not stable. It's full of misery. So what does he want? He says, I rather live with that misery. Let me learn to live with it. Learn to live with problem. Learn to live with that fear. In spite of fear, you got to do something. Not that, no fear and then you do things. No. That is not real life. It is fearful. Yes, of course it is scary. Of course it is. But the problem is what? The mind will constantly resist. It will resist this. Any change, the mind will resist. Law of life says what? I am not going to follow based on your resistance or your leniency. I will live independent of your resistance. More you resist, more you will experience the pain of life. Therefore what? Relax. That is why Buddha, if you take, he is the one who spoke about it. The first message of Buddha, what? Life is miserable. Life is miserable. Life is miserable. Life is miserable. How many years he has been speaking about it? At least I know one Buddha who has been speaking about it for the last 65 years. Life is miserable. 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 What should happen to that fellow? Huh? He goes on saying life is miserable. Life is miserable. What should happen to him, sir? But contrarily, what is happening to that fellow? He is so peaceful and he is so happy. You see, you usually, when you say that, constantly you keep on saying negative, 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 finally what has to become to you? You should become pessimistic and you should become cynical. Correct? You keep on speaking negative. Effect of that is what? Pessimism, intensified cynicism, and further go down depression. Cynical will not stop there. Cynical has to be only option for cynical is what, sir? Depression and suicide. That's the road. The road of negative thinking is this. Now, this is the man who says constantly what? Misery, 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 misery. Then how he should be living his life, sir? But contrarily, you look at him, he looks so peaceful. He's so peaceful. In 10 seconds, he goes out to sleep. His life should be miserable, no? But he is so peaceful. There has to be something wrong, isn't it? That's what the difference between psychology and philosophy. Remember, any amount of knowledge of psychology doesn't insulate the psychologist getting depressed. Little bit of philosophy is enough. You will get out of depression. That's all. You don't. But if you are already depressed, then you may ask me, what's the proof for it? Bhagavad Gita is the proof. What is a chapter name, sir? First chapter name itself is what? Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Start itself is what? Arjuna's despondency. Depression. Depression of Arjuna. He is agitated, so disturbed. Even he can be brought out. He also comes out of that dejection. That's the power of this understanding, please. This is not negative thinking. A lot of people think, it is pessimistic. This is not pessimism. This exposes you to the realities of life. The reality is what? Pleasure will come to end. The ending of pleasure is what I will experience as misery. Till I get that next pleasure. That interval between two pleasures. The tragedy is that interval will always appear to me as a long period of time. That's what he means, life is full of this vyadhi, he says, full of disease, isn't it? Plague, and then they said this problem, that problem, and then they said, tuberculosis problem, and then they said SARS. Now what is it? Corona. After this, what is going to happen? Another 10 years down the line, what are we going to be worried about? Another disease. Another disease. That's about it. If China sends one, another country will send another. That's all. Malaysia sent one, China sends one. One will come from this country, one will come from that country. That's all it is. It is going to be what, sir? Life is full of what? Diseases. Which is referring to the physical disease. Physical problem, physical hurt. Then he says, Vyadi, also Abhimana, conceit. Conceit refers to this mental hurt. Mental problem. So what you have to do with life, sir? It is so fleeting. Therefore, take this life as what, sir? That's what we call as a present. Present means what? It's a gift being given to you. You are gifted with this opportunity of human life. You have to recognize the value of that first. Hardly we recognize the value of human life. What it is to be born as human. You should read the scriptures, how they talk about how difficult it is to get this birth. I got that opportunity to be born. It's a gift given by the Lord. Use it properly. But the gift given to you is what, sir? They say, Shankara says, it is not a permanent gift. It is a temporary gift. Temporarily, he has given you this one. Now, what are you supposed to do, sir? Use it properly. He can take it away anytime. That which is given to you can be taken away from you anytime by the giver. This is the law of that. Anything given to you. This embodiment is given to you. Therefore, it can be taken away when? Anytime. So you can't be the ownership. You can't claim that ownership to it. Then what you are allowed? You are only allowed to use it. You don't have the choice of ownership. But you have the choice of user. You can use it. What is the right way of using it? Use it appropriately, and then what you have to do? When that fellow asks, give it back to him happily with gratitude. Thanks, man. I used it. Like you go abroad. Right. One fellow says, you come, I'll pick you from airport, come home, and then you do whatever you want. Another way is what? Is he comes, picks you up from the airport, takes you home, and then he says what? I will engage a car for you. Uber, I'll fix. You go in that Uber, go wherever you want, finish all those things, come back by evening, I'll finish my office work and come back. Evening dinner we'll have together. Dinner time I'll spend with you. And there is a third fellow. He says, picks you up from the airport, takes you home. He says what? Not only just gives the map to you, he says, He gives a map to you. Then he says, I am leaving the car and the driver for you to go wherever you want. He will take you wherever you want. However, you keep the map also with you. If you want, if you don't want, you don't need. Now you tell me, when you are coming back, should you be boarding your flight with joy or with anger? How can you take the car away? Send the car also along with me wherever I go. I come back to India. So what you have to do? Ship the car to India. Send the driver also with me. There's no meaning in that. Sometimes he picks you up from the airport, takes you home, relax. Next day morning, he calls his office, says, next 2 days, I am not available for your work. I have to spend time with my guests. Therefore, office holiday. I am spending full time with you. I will take you wherever you have to go. Why? You do not know what to see in the city. I am living in the city. I know where to take you. That is what God is doing. First thing what he did, sir, he gave human birth to you. He took you to his place. Next what he did, sir, he took you and gave you the map also. That's the Shastras. I said, you book wherever you want to go, you book. This is the map. Wherever you want to go, it is there inside. Shastra. Then he sent those great masters. The drivers also he fixed and gave it to you. They will take you. You don't have to do anything. All that you have to do is what? Get ready and hop into the car. What happens? He will take you. The driver knows where to take you. He knows what time to be taken where. You have to go to this place, this many hours it will take. This is the lunch time there. This is the time they will open. This is the better time to see. This is a time that show will happen. He knows everything. You don't have to think at all. You just have to relax and sit. He sends those great masters. All that you have to do is what? Just follow what they are saying. Sometimes he himself comes and gives. That's the avatar Purushas. That's the avatars. Where they themselves come. God himself comes and says, I'll take you, man. You don't have to worry. But the problem is what? You have to travel with him. We say what? No. No. You give the car to me, I will drive. In an unknown city, if you are to drive your car alone, to go from one place to another place to another place to another place, is not going to be an easy task. It is such a torture. Life is like that. Live that life happily. Give that opportunity for nature to help you. Give them this, the present. Live this life the way this life is supposed to be lived. Why? Don't postpone. That's the idea here. The central idea of verse 4 is what, sir? Don't postpone. Understand the sense of urgency with which you have to get on to life. Then it is a cause and effect. Now you think carefully. As long as you have that ability to contribute, you will be getting this love and affection and attention and all those things from people. So long as you contribute. This is a law, remember. Don't say people are selfish. Okay. This is not to claim, people are all very selfish and all those things. It's not that. This is what the law of life is. Law of life is what, sir? You have to contribute. Wherever you contribute, there you will gain attention, affection, love, etc. Why, sir? attention is given always towards a person who is contributing. Why? Because love is utility bound. For all of us, affection and attention is utility bound. If there is no utility to something, what do we do? So I love you as long as the contribution is coming from you to me. That contribution can be anything. Remember this, right? That contribution could be at the level of material, could be the level of, physical, can be emotional or intellectual, whatever that contribution is. But there has to be a contribution. Now, once you lose your capacity to earn, meaning your capacity to contribute. Now, don't take it literally, earning with reference to wealth. Of course, that is also included, right? That is also true. That doesn't mean only that. That's all you have to understand. So don't take it as only that. If you take only this, then it is pessimism. Then you will start pointing finger at others. See, they are all bad, as though you are so good. Look into yourself. To who you pay more attention to. Who is contributing, one who is not contributing. In your office also, at home, in your social club, or you go to your friend circle, wherever you go, as long as a person is contributing, that person gets attention, affection, inquiry, pleasantries. All this exchange of pleasantries will happen. When you walk into the social gathering, let's say, you go to few people and inquire, right? Who are the people you reach to? Think carefully. Those who can do a value addition to your life. That value addition can be any level. Remember this. Right? Value addition can be at any level. Now, any level in the sense what I value. Suppose if I value money more than knowledge, then I will not bother about a man of knowledge. Why? Because it happened actually in Bombay. When Stephen Hawking came to India, we went to, deliver a book to him. Vedanta treatise book we wanted to give. So we went to the hotel, 5-star hotel. We walked in. In the reception, we asked, what is the room number of Stephen Hawking's? The receptionist, without any hesitation, they gave. Without any hesitation, she just gave. Therefore, what are you going to do? Who you will go and meet? Will you go and meet a businessman, or you will go and meet a politician? You will go and meet a sports fellow, or you go and meet a scientist? Who you go and meet? That doesn't mean one is superior, one is inferior. What is it that you value? So, if anywhere you have to go for inquiries, how are you? As long as there is contribution, there will be inquiries. The contribution stops, what happens? As long as I am talking, there will be value. The moment I lose my capacity to talk, what will happen? Right? I just lose my voice. What will happen? Like that happened to one, a great man, lecturer, Anantarama Dikshidhar. He lost his voice halfway through. Of course, he gained it back through his tapas. He got it back. But when he loses that, like, okay, Anantarama Dikshidhar, some of you may not know. John Milton, he lost his eyesight, halfway through. What happens? Andre Del Sarto, we don't know about him at all as a great painter. Picasso and all we know. Andre Del Sarto we don't know. Why? No contribution. Because I was painting. This fellow stopped painting. What happens there? You lose, whatever the reason. You may lose it because of your inability, due to some physical problem, due to some situational problem, due to some mental problem, due to some intellectual problem, no matter what. If you lose that capacity to contribute, consequences what, sir? People will not. So, when people are valuing you, what you have to understand? They're not valuing me. They are valuing what I contribute. To the extent that you are showering your love and affection on me, to that extent I will understand the value that you have for what I contribute. That's all. So what we have to understand, sir, when people are showering love, we have to understand that. Remember the difference. Very, very important lesson in life to understand. To expect an eventuality, pessimism. To be prepared for an eventuality is called a philosophical. We are not expecting every time when somebody comes and asks, how are you, sir? It's okay, everything is fine, this, that. Immediately don't say, you are doing all those things only for what I'm giving. No, not for what I am. No, this is not for you to discuss about others. This is for you to discuss what you are doing. When you are contributing, there is always contributor is looked upon, showered with love. A non-contributor is always looked upon, looked down as a liability. This is the law. Shankara only says the law, that's all. Wherever you are, if you are a contributor, you are looked up. If you are a non-contributor, you become a liability to that system. Whatever the system is. All liabilities are experienced as a burden. It is a burden to that system. Whether it can be family, whether it can be a company, whether it can be society, whether it can be community, can be a country, it can be even the whole globe. Humanity, is it a contributing species or a liability species to nature? We have become a liability species to the nature. Therefore, nature will do what? Some time back when I was explaining, people didn't even realize. They said, why are you speaking so harsh today? They said. A few years back, when we had one of the classes, I was saying, you people are not realizing the nature has started rebelling against us. Not now. A few, last year or so, one of the class. After the class, they called, why, sir, you are so angry today? Say, what? I'm saying, I'm telling the facts. You look at around, no. Today, all of us understand coronavirus. Last year, when I said that, nobody realized. They said, why are you angry? They said, it's not anger, it's a fact. Look around, you see nature is rebelling against. How do you know, sir? Look at the number of reports of earthquakes. When I was small, earthquake was, once in, few years you hear about. Now earthquakes are looking what for all of us. Every year damage happens because of fire. Fire god is against. Rain god is against. Every dimension of nature has started rebelling against us. And when they really rebel, we will not be able to handle that. Wake up. Or you are contributing one, or you are liability one. So long as you are a contributing one, people will be inquiring about you. When you lose your capacity to contribute, finished. What happens, sir? Nobody will even inquire in your own house. At home, people will not. Manasi vichintaya varam var. Reflect well on this. Hari Om.